drive me away every time. Oh, hi, folks. I didn't even see you there. I'm Steve Sando with Rancho Gordo, and today we're going to continue our series on what to do with a pot of beans, or I made a pot of beans. What do I do now? So today we made beautiful Royal Coronas, and these are interchangeable with regular Corona beans from Italy, Gigante beans from Greece, and I'm sure there are probably some others. What's interesting is they really are traceable to Oaxaca, Mexico originally, and they're ayacote beans or frijolón, and they're Phaseolus coccineus, and they are a beautiful vine that does cling to things. They've got really a great flower, but you'll see our ayacote negro, scarlet runners, they're all in the same family, and they're really oversized. And what's interesting is outside of Oaxaca, they're really more popular, I think, in the United States and even in England. In England, they grow them as a decorative, which is really funny. And I talked to some English people who had no idea you could eat the beans. So that's that. All right, so we're going to try them today with a couple of different things. I thought to start off, one of my favorite chili crisp sauce for the people who really made it a thing, Fly by Jing. Okay, and you can see I've used a lot of it. But let's first get a bowl of our beautiful Royal Coronas. And I'm going to try and make them a little bit dry. I'm not taking a lot of the bean broth here. And one of the ways you can tell when beans are finished, when they're cooked through, is the skins wrinkle. And normally you have to blow on them, but here we don't have to do that. They're already doing that. Sometimes, this is a funny bean, I normally don't soak our beans, but if I've thought about it, I do soak these because they are huge. They take a really good long time. But if it's Sunday and I haven't soaked them, what else do I have to do? So I look at them going low all day. I think I'm gonna do a teaspoon here and mix up the chili crisp. So it's really oil with incredible chilies. And there's a beautiful article about them and sort of the predatory behavior of certain stores, and it's on taste, and it's called We Have to Talk About Trader Joe's, and it's really kind of a sad story, but this really is the OG and really one of my favorites. Okay, so this was really taxing. I think I need a nap after this. Look at how beautiful that is. And was that complicated? Let me taste and see if it needs salt too. I think it probably doesn't. It's warm, and it does need a tiny bit. Oh, that is so great. And the warmth of the chili crisp is pretty great. So look, we've already made a dish, and that was not hard. And we still have plenty of beans left over to try different things. For our next use of the Royal Corona, I have to think of the name. You know, during coronavirus days, this was our #1 bean. I think it's still close if it's not. But the next thing I like to do is leeks, and you just literally simmer them. This green part is really woody. I had people tell me they use it, but it's really fibrous and not pleasant. I mean, maybe you could go deep inside. Like, okay, I might use that part, but not that. Anyway, so if you look at our previous one pot many meals video, we tell what to do with leeks ends, and it's really fun. I think you'll like it. But leeks generally grow in sandy soil, so they tend to be filthy. So you really got to do extra cleaning with them. I like to go half and half, cut them in half, and then also, this is just too fibrous, that end, but the rest is pretty good. So these go in the compost or the pile. See, I'm not going all the way down. That seems good. Because if it's too fibrous, there's no pleasure in that. Really, honestly. Okay. So that's the pure leek. Those look good too. So I'm going to do little half moons. People ask me, but I want you to know I'm not a chef. I'm a home cook who is passionate. So I'm sure a couple of my techniques would probably make a chef cringe. Like the use of the mandolin in the previous video made people like freaked out. I think part of the angle made it look like it was worse than it was. Or maybe I'm playing with fire. I'm not really sure. All right. All right, so we have all those half moons. You want to break them up as much as you can because the sand really can hide inside the rings. And that's why you could do whole rings, but this is going to cook down to the point where it really doesn't matter the finished bit. So what I'll do is rinse these really well, and I'll even let them soak for about 10 minutes while the oven sand and the dirt settles. So you don't just pour them out or drain them, you gently pull them out as you use them. All right. And I'm continuing to break up the rings. And the water's still a little milky, which means dirty. All right, so now while this is still soaking, we're gonna go ahead and get this started. This is called a Windsor pot from the Duke of Windsor, who apparently loved sauces, and it's designed to encourage evaporation. So you actually, it'll make that happen faster, supposedly. It's just a great shaped pot, and I don't know why Le Creuset doesn't make them anymore, but other people do. And it doesn't have to be enamel cast iron, but that's pretty handy. And because the handle's hollow, it is always great. I also wanted to mention, when we have products here, we never accept payment or compensation. So these are things I'm using in my kitchen. So I don't want you to think that Kerrygold or Olive Oil Jones, I have to check the names, paid us. These are products I love. Same with Le Creuset. All right, and the other thing, so how much is that? Maybe 2 tablespoons? That's how exact I am. My hands were washed. And then some olive oil. I used to think if you're gonna make these leeks, you have to do a big batch, because it's, I don't know why, I just had in my head you needed 3 or 4 leeks. You had to make a ton of it. And you know what? You don't. Because the way I use it is just to use a spoonful in different things. So there's no need. Now, this is where it's funny. I'm gonna kind of lift up and let it drain as much as I can before putting it in here. This is very, you could heat up the oil and the butter first, but I've done it both ways and there's no difference. But I'm making sure, in case I got some dirt or sand, that I'm not putting it in with the leeks. And in fact, I can see some at the bottom. Okay, that's good enough. Then I'm going to add some salt. This is finishing salt, so I probably should have just used regular fine salt, but I didn't. Mixing it up so that everything's coated. And you'll see this reduces like crazy. And I'm just gonna cook this on low. I used to think, that's why I used to think I needed 3 or 4 leeks to make a huge batch to make it all worthwhile. But it's about 45, 50 minutes, if that, on low. So you just do enough. And put this in your refrigerator, and this is great on beans, as you'll see, but also if you have toast with goat cheese and a scoop of lentils or leeks on top, it's pretty great. So it's pretty versatile. I think in France you just use butter, but I actually like the combination of butter and olive oil. But don't quote me, I'm not 100% sure. You could also put a sprig of thyme in here too, but then suddenly it's cuisine specific, and I'm trying to make it cuisine neutral so I can use it throughout the week, just like the pot of beans. See, it's it's a full circle. Okay. So we've got some more beans. I also did them somewhat dry. There's not a lot of bean broth in there because I really wanted the leeks. And I actually don't want that many leeks. You know, it doesn't take much to make me weak, but oh, this is great. You could also put some parsley if you wanted to add some green. I didn't bring any today. But it's another completely different dish than, say, the chili. But I do think pepper would be good. And it took about 40 minutes. I did end up adding a bay leaf just because I have a bay tree. I don't know if you can see that there, but I think bay leaves are great. And if you have any kind of real estate, having a bay tree is very helpful. Oh, look at this. And it's interesting, the beans, when you first take them out, the skins are kind of ugly, but look, they've sort of rehydrated and reattached. Oh, another great thing. So now, I want beans on toast. And then we have beautiful loaf from Della Fattoria. I hear people mispronounce this word so much. They go Della Fattoria, and they do an over-exaggerated Italian gesture, but it's like, you're not doing it right. And I know this only, not that I'm superior, although I am, but the reason I know this is from the old song, Nella vecchia fattoria, ia. So fattoria means farm, so it's from the farm. It's not from the factory necessarily. All right, we're gonna do, people ask me about my knives sometimes too. I'm not a knife fetishist, but I go to Bernal Cutlery and I often order online because I don't know what I want. I did need a good bread knife, and this is a German Herder, I'm so bad, but I love that. I also, because of them, got a Japanese vegetable knife, but deep in my heart, I love a 10-inch chef's knife, European styles where I'm at. But also, I was using paring knives, and it's like, I don't get this, but a 6-inch chef's knife is how I would treat a paring knife, and I just love that. And this was new old stock they have. They have lots of cool things like that. Anyway, all right. Beautiful bread. Oh my God. I'm sorry if you don't live in the Bay Area. If you do live in the Bay Area, you're lucky and you can have this. So I'm being a little indulgent with the cuts. I will use everything. And these heels and ends that I'm not going to use now necessarily, you can cut up and make croutons, of course. And you could also let them dry and just keep them in a jar and use them as you need them. So we're going to toast these. You can use a toaster if you want, but I love pan roasting the bread. You can push down. And this is a steel pan from Santa Barbara Forge. Make sure they're nice and warm, and then I'll work on the hard toasting in just a minute. And again, no compensation, but I'm a huge fan. Oh, actually, and my spatula's from them, and I have a beautiful ladle as well. But if you're in the Santa Barbara area, they are famous for making beautiful wrought iron for Spanish Revival homes. Now, if you're a pig like me, you're going to want 2 pieces, but I'm going to pretend that I'm not. I also am going to horrify some of you, but those of you who have been a lot to Italy, you're going to think, yeah, whatever. But we're going to basically drown this beautiful piece of good fresh bread that's been toasted in olive oil. And you're going to say, oh, that's too much. And you know, do your own thing, but I don't want to hear about it that you thought mine was too much. All right. Oh, look at that. That is really good. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, so I've put the Royal Coronas on top of the toast with, you know, just a touch of olive oil. And I think that looks pretty grand. And we did this in the Marcella Hazan documentary, Marcella, with the Marcella beans, which are really Serrano beans. And then just don't judge me. Just a little more. I don't think an Italian would do this, but I'm going to put fresh cracked pepper on the top. And I think that is amazing. And it sure beats icky beans on toast. So much so that I'm going to use my vintage Tiffany flatware to enjoy this. But wait, you know what we can do? Well, first I'm going to do this. Oh my God. And the toast should be drenched, so don't be stingy. It's a poem. I wouldn't use not good bread, I wouldn't use not good beans, and I wouldn't use not good olive oil. This is really that. Now, in Italy, you would use lardo, which isn't just lard, it's cured lard. It takes months to make. But in a pinch, you can use guanciale or even prosciutto. And you want it gossamer wing thin. And it will start to melt a little bit. Oh, look at that. And you don't want a lot. Just just a bit. And that's also something wonderful. But you know, I'll be honest with you, I almost prefer it without the prosciutto, but you might have a great producer of prosciutto nearby. Oh, is that like the perfect bite or what? It's better with prosciutto. That was great. So there's another quick meal. So, but don't try this with inferior bread. You really need it great. I personally would love a sourdough, but whatever, some good artisan bread. Oh my God, so good. Okay, so we've made quite a few things. Now we're gonna make something a little more ambitious. I've been reheating food more than actually cooking, so I thought, let's cook something. That's why I have this very attractive apron on. We have some, and I'm just, going through my stuff, and I'm thinking, don't judge me. I have a Costco rotisserie chicken, kind of what's left of that carcass. I have some bell peppers, so I'm gonna make something I'm going to call estofada, like stew, although it really isn't, but it's good enough. And one thing with bell peppers, the skins are undigestible, so you really do want to avoid skin as much as you can. But if you don't have time to roast them, you can actually peel them with a vegetable peeler. And you don't have to get nuts and get every little bit, but I think it's much more appealing to do this. So look at that. Goes into the compost heap. I bet you could dry these and turn them into to something too. Take away the white pith, which is nasty and undigestible. Again, or maybe it is digestible, but you don't want that. So look, we have pieces that are pretty good. Now, of course, if you were roasting these with a flame and then let them rest before you use them, they'd have better flavor. But this is actually really good flavor, and the beans are the king. So roasted pepper shouldn't be the dominant flavor in my mind. It's an onion. This has been warmed up already. And because not only am I cheap, I'm lazy, I use the same pan that we toasted the bread in, just because I didn't feel like cleaning another one. All right, and we have garlic from my garden. If you haven't grown garlic, it's pretty easy, and I would recommend it. I'm gonna use 2 bulbs. Oops, I broke one from somewhere, so I guess I'll use 3. And if you cut off the little ugly end before you smash it, the paper comes off easier. And I believe that's the Jacques Pepin trick I learned from television. It's interesting, the fresh garlic that you grow is much stickier than the store-bought. Look at that. All right, so I'm gonna wait for those to become translucent. I'm not gonna brown them. Then I have pepper. In Spanish, Mexicans say acitronar, to citronize the onions, which really I think means translucent. So, but I think it's a great word. I wish we had a better word. But that's when they're pretty much cooked, but they're not browned. So now I will add the bell peppers, and I'm gonna salt them a little bit now, because I think this might be voodoo, but I do believe it helps release some of the juices. and it'll make them denser tasting. I like burlap and barrels herb de Provence. There's a lot of different ones out there, and this is one that I like. And what's weird is some of them will have lavender in them. And when I was in Provence, I didn't see it except in tourist shops. I've had people though from Provence say, no, there's lavender in it. And then you have other people from Provence saying, absolutely not. So follow your heart. I think I would rather have lavender out in the garden and not in my white bean chicken estofada, if that's okay with you. Okay, while we're waiting for the peppers to cook down, I have to show you a funny thing. I got a box of recipes from my grandmother on little recipe cards, and she was the worst cook. She didn't know what garlic was, but I'm happy to have them. But I thought, recipe cards are kind of cool. And then a trick from Patricia Wells' seminal book, Bistro Cooking, which you're of a certain age, it really was the book to buy. So the recipe cards are great. I used to use my fountain pen, and there are two problems. One is if you are messy, the ink will start dripping everywhere. And two, my writing isn't as clear as it might be. People in the staff are laughing because they're hieroglyphic style. So what I do now is I have a typewriter, believe it or not, a vintage typewriter, and I type out. For me, I bruise cabbage salad. I tend to just write out the ingredients because I know how to do it, but you do want the ingredients. But what Patricia Wells taught us is you take the card, stick it on a fork, and now I have the instructions right there out of the way. Thank you very much. You're all beautiful. It's a great trick to have, and the card stays clean, and it's within eyesight. And I would say if you have legible handwriting and a permanent ink, do it that way, but I'll tell you, a typewriter is pretty fun. And you will be surprised how many times it's handy to have a typewriter instead of the computer, just gonna say. All right. And I think most stationery stores still have these index cards and the tabs, so it's not impossible to do. All right. Well, that's still cooking down a little bit. I'm not recommending this in particular, but a lot of stores do have rotisserie chickens, and you might do something with it, but at the end, here we are at the carcass. I'm gonna take these and make stock after I'm done getting off a reasonable amount of meat. I find it's really hit or miss. Sometimes it's like, wow, that was so delicious, this is the best deal, and other times it's completely dry and flavorless, and there's no winning. So I don't wanna tell you what to do, but it's awfully handy, and it's a loss leader for a lot of stores, so they don't charge you the actual market value just to get you in there and enjoy it. I love both light and dark meat, but some people don't, so this is a great thing to do for the other kind of meat that you don't like. Although if it's white meat, it might get dried out. But it's nice to, and honestly, if you're busy and you don't want to, if you don't have a lot of vegetables, just simmer this in plain water and you'll have a stock. And then also you can put it in the super cubes that we talked about in the other video. And we have some shorts on that too. And this is the back, and there's that little pearl that is the best part of it. Sorry, that's for me. This is a bean dish with some peppers and some leftover chicken. So I'm not gonna go too crazy. You could always add more chicken if you want. You could also do beans and peppers and call that a day too. I love theater. Okay. So I'm actually doing it. You can also cut up the pieces, but I think they look not great. They're like manufactured and cubed. So I think it's nicer to tear it up with your hands. And one time, I don't think this will work, but I used the back of my knife. Look at that, it kind of shreds it. Wait, I just did this. Oh, this makes me happy. I love just figuring out this stuff right when we're together, these valuable times, we're just chit-chatting and I think, oh. So this isn't the sharp end of the knife, it's the duller end. And I'm just sort of shredding it that way. Oh, I love that. You know another secret I'll tell you, because I'm full of them, is when you have ground beef and you put it in the pan, it's like, okay, how do you break it up? It's really irritating. And I even saw someone with a special tool, and I wanted to give them such a pinch when I saw that. Take a whisk and mash it with a whisk, and it breaks it up perfectly. And if you know all this stuff and you're thinking, tell me something I don't know, there's a lot of people who watch these videos who don't know things. The peppers are about giving up the spirit, which is what we want. So we're just really heating up the chicken. We're not cooking the chicken. I think that looks about right. So I have some beautiful rice, of course made with the water from the white beans. So it has a richness that you wouldn't get from tap water. And then here's our estofada. This is a very old family recipe, and I insist you do exactly the steps that I've pointed out here. No, we made it up as we went along based on what I had already. Sometimes, olive oil is great for cooking, but it also is a finishing sauce that just gives it that wonderful thing that you need. And look, we've got that. So here, I'm going to serve it over rice. I don't even know if you need to. You could also do bread or nothing, I think, too. But you do want to look at this beautiful sauce it made. So make sure you get plenty of that. And what's cool is the chicken was in the refrigerator. Like, I didn't even have to go buy one. So there's our estofada. So as you can see, look at all the things we did with one pot of beans. I still have beans left over. Of course, I was doing single servings to do this, but you definitely, at the end of the pot, you can puree it, maybe with some anchovies and some more olive oil, and make that a dip. There's a lot of things you could do. Or you could use, we didn't even do a salad, and the salad is a natural salad bean. So anyway, thank you for spending this little time with me, and we'll do another pot real soon. Thank you.